One of the worst losses, other than the physical losses of this nightmare, has been the loss of my reputation.
Can I have normal shoes, please, so I'm not on TV looking like this? But I don't want to be on Channel 4 in my pajamas.
I wouldn't worry about the news right now.
Did he come and hit the back of my car, and I hit him in the knee, and he's drunk and passed out and asphyxiated or something? And then when I hired David Yannetti, I asked him those questions the night of January 29th. Like, David, what if, I don't know, what if I ran his foot over? Or what if I clipped him in the knee and he passed out or went to care for himself and he threw up or passed out? And David said, yeah, then you have some element of culpability.
My paralegal told me that a guy named Mike had called the office and he has important information for me. I called him back, and I have a memory of sitting at my desk at home in my office. And, he had a gravelly voice, and, it was like a holy smokes moment, because he said that perhaps someone else caused the death of John O'Keefe. And he came and sat with my investigator and me, and, it didn't really go anywhere with him beyond that. It's not like he was a witness or that we could use him, but that tip was invaluable.
When someone comes to our office with credible information that a police officer may have been involved in a murder and underlying legal violations as set forth in the indictment, we're going to investigate that case every time. I'm not going to comment on how we get information.
Built a cannon?
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
Oh, David.
Yeah.
We were just saying that we can only imagine if he has notifications on. He's probably turned them off by now.
I bet he has. I don't think he's probably not having a good Sunday.
Yeah, I don't think so.
No.
But hey, guys,
No.
thanks for thanks for coming back and joining us so we can finish up what we started last night. We still have about we're about halfway through, so we've got to get through 2024 and 2025. So, but first we're going to recap a little bit of what we talked about last night, but also read a little Yannetti Aiden text to start the show off with a bang. Kate's in the chat. She said she's having a spectacular Sunday.
Oh, I bet she is. I bet you are. We love you, Kate.
Whoops, sorry. Okay, so do you want me to put that? Is that what we're doing first? The text, right?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Let me put that on stage. All right.
Okay.
So this is something that came out of Aiden sharing his phone like an idiot, his phone extraction. And Carrie and I are going to read it. And I'm going to be Yannetti and Carrie's going to be Aiden. So I'll start. So David Yannetti says, FBI showed up at Bridgewater April 10th to subpoena him. In August, he was pulled over in a black Ford Edge.
Oh, I think that's Aiden.
Yes, that was Aiden.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Okay.
Oh, that's right. I'm reading. That's from. I'm sorry. I thought that's.
No, I was confused too. Okay.
Yeah.
Confused.
Okay. So you read it.
Okay. FBI showed up at Bridgewater April 10th to subpoena him. In August, he was pulled over in a black Ford Edge.
Yeah, saw that. We were thinking maybe that was why Lucky was so emphatic that it was not Brian Albert's Edge parked outside the house.
It was the guy from Yellow Cottage Tales. No clue how he got that.
And then this is you again.
So Brian made Colin come back at 3:30 to shield the house.
And Yannetti says, maybe, but so many Leos drive edges. If the feds are indeed investigating, they know about 100 times more than you or us.
Well, what other reason could they have to subpoena him at Bridgewater? And they did it before I wrote about it and before Alan filed that massive 94-page Google search affidavit on April 12th.
I wonder if that's me, right? I'm not,
Yep.
I'm there. Yeah. I wonder if they were just trying to shake him up by serving him at school. They like to fuck with people that way, unnerve them and make them uncomfortable.
Yep. Yeah. So, one of the things when I look at this text exchange that I want you guys to remember, what we told you yesterday, they had that anonymous list that from that geofence. So they knew what phones were there, certainly not exactly who it was, but they would have known if a phone was there. So pure ridiculousness. And for David Yannetti to be talking about a college kid when he has children and he's relishing in the FBI messing with this kid's head. Look at these two kids. You know what I mean? They were just babies and they got dragged into this mess. Karen was what, 40 something years old when she pointed the finger at Colin. Yeah. It's so sad. They look so sweet there. They look so cute.
And this picture is before everything. So understand that they had absolutely no cares or worries like any kids should their age on their way to college. That's their graduation picture of the two of them with no idea of what was to come. Yeah.
I mean, you look at him there, that his face and, his, he still looks very, very young. Mm-hmm. And to think that he was somehow involved in beating a Boston police officer who was over 6 feet tall in great shape to
and
death.
Shielding the house after.
And he's helping move this. I'm like, what are you talking about? It's absolutely ridiculous. To see David Yannetti in the weeds like that is just, he should be ashamed.
It's embarrassing for him.
Yeah.
It's horrible. And then there were those other texts where they're talking about, I think there's one chain with Alan Jackson and there's one with David Yannetti where Aiden is talking about how he wiretapped possibly Lucky and Scanlon. And if you remember from the Colin show, you guys, when Aiden came aboard, those were two people that the defense really wanted to talk to. They needed them to sign affidavits and they were blowing the defense off. And then you have Aiden come in and all of a sudden these people are talking. I don't think Scanlon realized he was being recorded and then to share that recording that he obtained illegally, it sure seems, with an attorney on this case it's very disturbing, very disturbing.
And we have those clips of him, right, on his show threatening, telling Lucky,
Yeah.
We've played them before. I can't remember what he said, but it wasn't, it wasn't friendly.
Basically, you shouldn't be scared of them. You need to be scared of me.
You should be scared of me. That's right. That's right.
Yep. Yeah. So we're going to get started with this timeline. We had gone through last night 2022 to 2023. We're coming up on 2024. Things start to move a little bit quicker, right? We're coming up on the trial date. And so here we're starting on the 9th of January in 2024. And there is a letter from Reed's defense that goes to Joshua Levy, and they are asking for those letters. We talked about some of them yesterday. The Morrissey letters, as they were labeled by the media, and they want them released. And they want those letters released because they're going to use them in their motion for sanctions. And so then and at that time there was, they were protected. They weren't public. And so then Josh Levy sends a letter to Judge Cannone, because if you guys remember, this was really weird as far as like what could be shared. Was Judge Cannone part of that protective order. It was a very odd time. And so on the 12th, you've got this U.S. District Attorney sending a letter to this judge and saying it's okay to release Morrissey's communications.
Which is crazy.
Interesting. Yeah, very interesting. It sure did seem like the U.S. Attorney's Office was taking a side, which is disturbing. And so then on January 17th, the Commonwealth and the defense participate in a joint call with the United States Attorney's Office. If you guys remember from yesterday, we had those texts between Aidan Carney and his girlfriend, I guess, at the time. I guess that's how you would describe her. And he's talking about some kind of off-the-record meeting that Levy had with the defense. So that was like the end of November. And then you have this joint meeting mid-January. And again, and we're working up to trial here. I can't remember at that time what date that trial was scheduled. I know it got pushed back, but this is all on the eve of trial. And then we've got some media to go along with this. We have this pre-trial hearing, and David Yannetti. Let's listen to what David Yannetti says first.
It is clear from those letters that District Attorney Morrissey is well aware that he's the target of a federal investigation as a result of his conduct in this case. Those letters prove that he knew that, even before the U.S. Attorney ever confirmed that there even was an investigation. And Your Honor, on that score, something very important has come to light just yesterday that directly bears on this issue. The Norfolk DA's office and the Karen Reed defense team participated in a conference call yesterday with a representative from the U.S. Attorney's Office. The U.S. Attorney confirmed during that conference call, confirmed for both parties, that not only has there been a federal investigation of this case, but it is ongoing. It's not over. It continues. The DA had this confirmed for them just yesterday, right from the horse's mouth. That means, Your Honor, that District Attorney Morrissey and his office are targets of a federal investigation. And please consider what that means for the upcoming hearing on our motion for sanctions. The anticipated nature of that hearing bears directly on the ruling that this court will make today on the Commonwealth's motion for a protective order to keep the 8 letters impounded. We have the 8 letters. We've seen them. We've read them. We are using them. The genie cannot be put back in the bottle.
He's so dramatic.
Yeah.
So they're all, even her nodding and you know what? So I've never watched her before. I always watched him. I watched her. This time I never noticed that.
Yeah, I was looking at
and
her
you remember
too.
after this. Yeah, after this hearing, the U.S. Attorney's Office came out and said, we never announced a target. That did not happen. And so, yeah. And David Yannetti tried to then make it seem like he hadn't said that. In another hearing, he'll talk about, I never said there was a target letter. Well, we never said that you said that, David. We said that you said he was the target. And that's exactly what you said.
It's exactly what he said.
Yep. Yep. And so we showed you guys this email earlier last night's show. But this is when.
Hold on. Sorry.
Oh, no, you're fine. So this is when that email that we talked about, it's a joint request. Alan Jackson sends over. Basically, this is for the Chewy stuff, all the things that they're asking the U.S. Attorney's Office for. And again, I have highlighted that statements of Karen Reed. Someone had pointed out to me this morning that she probably didn't speak to them directly. And that's pretty much what we heard in court, that David Yannetti had taken some kind of, I don't know if it was a recording or if he wrote it down, her best recollection of events of that night, and sent it to the U.S. Attorney's Office at their request. So, yeah. Yep. And then we go on to January 22nd of 2024, and those letters are released to the public. These are the letters they're going to use in their motion for sanctions. We talked about them last night. when we go back to the first one, that's the one where Morrissey, as far as the ones that Morrissey wrote, Morrissey is basically saying, I think this is a retaliatory investigation. He wants the investigation moved. I don't know what your guys' thoughts were. I mean, when I read them, I was like, wow, they're really pointing out to the U.S. attorney how strange this situation is, and they're concerned. At least the Norfolk County District Attorney's Office was concerned about discovery, and they were concerned about Brady, and Levy was just blowing them off about that whole aspect of it.
Well, I think they were concerned, right? Because they hadn't asked them for anything.
Nothing.
Right? Yeah. So I mean, how weird is that?
It's very weird. And we learned that the defense was forwarding everything that they were getting in discovery over to the U.S. Attorney's Office, but we don't know how it was being colored, right? We don't know.
Or what they were giving them.
Right. And we saw evidence of a conversation between the defense and Levy himself, according to Aiden Kearney, something that he learned. So we don't know what was being said. It was very, very odd.
Right. And I think the other thing that's really weird, right, is that she didn't testify in the grand jury. Like, they didn't want to hear from her, just like they didn't want to hear from the first responders.
Right. They didn't want to hear from Stewart. Yeah.
Very
they
weird.
didn't want to hear from any of those people.
Right.
Very bizarre. Right. Very bizarre.
Yeah.
And so we've got some media to go along with this too. But, and I didn't even realize it until I put this timeline together, how close in time Karen's phones were seized. If you remember, they were investigating a conspiracy between Aiden Kearney and Karen Reed to commit witness intimidation. Mm-hmm. So if you want to play those videos, we can watch those.
Oh, hold on. I got to get in the groove again.
I think is the volume off on those?
No, I can hear it. Can you not hear it?
I can't hear it at all.
Can you hear it, Carrie?
Yeah, I don't hear anything.
That's weird. I can hear it. Hold on. Let me make sure. Let me go back to sharing this instead. And then hold on one second. You heard the other videos though, right? Or the other video?
I heard David Yannetti. It was very soft for me. But I didn't hear this one at all.
Okay. You guys talk for a second. I'm going to unshare my screen and then just make sure I have share volume checked.
Okay, great. So these videos that you're going to see, the first one is her father showing up as MSP is outside waiting to get in. They have a warrant for her phones and she's not letting them in. She knows that they're there. They can see her moving around in the house, but she refuses to open the door. They're being very restrained. I don't know who else would have gotten this treatment. If there was a warrant for something that I had, I'm pretty sure they would have kicked your door down. They would have kicked my door in, and they were not doing that. They were being very kind to her. And so that's the first video you'll see. Her father shows up. He's got Yannetti and Jackson on the phone. So they're aware of this situation as well. They're aware that Karen is not letting MSP in. And then the second video is what happens at the end as it's Tully, and I don't know the other person's name, as they leave.
Yeah, I don't remember.
So you'll see you'll hear and see how Karen handles this.
Just want to tell you that you're on an open line. That was Attorney Yannetti, Jackson, and Little.
Okay.
Just want you to be.
Yeah, and our body camera's on as well, so you know. And attorney's on the line there, so my body camera's on, recording.
Okay. I'm going to open the door.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is anyone home, sir?
I believe my daughter's home. I check on her daily.
So, I mean, yeah. We saw her through the window.
Yeah.
We know that she's in there, but she obviously didn't open the door. So our number one.
She's in trauma.
I understand. So, well,
she's fearful.
I understand. Our number one concern is safety. So I don't want her to lash out against us.
No, she will not.
All right. Okay. Then do you want to come in with us?
She's fearful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there's a second video of Karen and Tully and the other law enforcement officer. And it's, you know, she's let them in by this point, and she's gotten the phones for them. Alan Jackson is on speakerphone, and he's been telling her what to do. And then this is when they're about to leave. Someone in the comments is
No, it's reset.
Oh. Okay. All right, Mr. Jackson, we're all set. I'm going to leave copies of search warrants. Thank you. So I'll leave them here. Sure. Okay. Thank you.
Good luck.
Did you hear that?
Yeah.
Good luck. You'll need it.
Yep. So Karen had reset at least one of the phones, and very snidely, the woman who is in trauma says, "Good luck, you'll need it." So
yeah,
she sounds really
there we
fearful.
are.
She sounds so
Yeah.
scared.
Oh yeah. And if you guys remember, so in that January 18th Zoom hearing that we just saw, we saw her on the camera there. She was very sunburnt. So they had tried to execute this warrant previously, and Karen took off to Florida. So, so Karen has been sunning herself, and while she's in deep trauma, and thinking of snide things to say to people. So that's what I do when I'm in trauma. I don't know about you guys, but
do you remember when? Do you remember when LTL Brian, whatever his name is, released that video, and Free Karen Reed, of course, was saying that she told Tully to have a good night.
Yeah, bundle up.
Yeah.
That's what they thought. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's not. You don't know your Karen Reed if you think that's what she said.
Yeah. I mean, that's the delusion land that these people live in.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep.
Yep. And so we can go to the next slide. Someone in the comments had said about erasing. Yeah, if there was nothing to hide, why are you erasing your phones?
Yeah.
I would be like, go ahead, look through all of it. You know what I mean? I wasn't doing anything like that. And remember in that video too, there was like a free Turtle Boy sign in her garage, like
in her garage.
stencils. Yeah.
It was stencils. So she was making signs, Free Turtle Boy signs.
Yeah.
Well, she probably wasn't making them, but she was housing the stencils for people to make them. The only thing I wanted to say before we move on, Julie, is this. I kind of talked to you a little bit about it. These Morrissey letters that were released.
Yes.
They were so eager, like so willing to release these, like just, yep, go ahead, go ahead. I can't tell you how many people I've talked to that have tried to FOIA for the communications of the defense team and the U.S. Attorney's Office, myself included, and we just keep getting stonewalled. So it's just...
What is going on?
Yeah, it's just like the witness is trying to get the information as to, you know, how they got warrants for their phones. Anything on this side of it, you just meet nonstop brick walls. But, you know, here Levy is just like, oh yeah, go ahead, release it, take it, you know, it's anything that made like basically anything they could use to further this conspiracy or just, you know, add to the chaos of things. It's like it seems like it was just like such an easy path. But, you know, anything we try to get or that the witnesses have tried to get, it's nonstop issues.
People should be furious about this. They should be furious.
Yep.
Yeah. And again, like we said last night, you know, the bigger the government, the bigger the threat. There is nothing more powerful than our federal government. And if they're going rogue, you know, the public needs to know, and there needs to be some kind of consequence to that.
Yeah.
Yep.
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 Okay. Deep sigh. Next slide.
Yeah. Yep. And so we have on February 1st, I believe that Proctor was the last witness for the federal grand jury, and he testifies on February 1st. And then
I
not
just wanted to
even
say
two.
something really quick about that,
Oh,
Jewel.
sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's okay. I just want, so he was the last witness to testify before the grand jury. Before him, the previous witness was Ally McCabe in August of 2023, which means that the grand jury was essentially dormant for 6 months. So think about that, right? They had nothing going on for 6 months, did nothing. If there had been evidence of any cover up or conspiracy, the U.S. Attorney's Office would have acted, and they didn't. And I think, I mean, the only reason that they called in former Trooper Proctor was because the DA's office had been pressuring them to share information with them. We saw the letters Julie showed you guys. And think about it. His partner, like we talked about yesterday, they never called Yuri in. Yuri never testified. He was with him the entire day. So if they're thinking this guy's involved in a cover up, how do you not call his partner in who spent the entire day with him investigating? So why did they call him in? So think about that for one reason and one reason only, right? To get his text messages into the TUI. They knew that there was no corruption to show. They knew that there was no conspiracy to show, but they needed those text messages because they needed to show him unprofessional and his bias, because under the law, bias matters, right? So they had to give the defense something. They had to.
Yeah.
That's what their whole, think about that. That's what their whole motive was. And they couldn't find anything. So that's why they called him in, and then they could get his text messages for them.
Yeah.
Because that's all they had.
And think about how much that affected this case.
Yes.
Those text messages. I mean, people still talk about them. They were huge in the media. Wow.
And the federal investigation, right? Like as soon as that was announced, I mean, I don't ever think you were going to get a guilty verdict. I didn't ever think you were going to get a not guilty, but I was never really sure you were going to get a guilty verdict, a full 12 people because of this federal investigation.
Yep. And so then 11 days after that, we have ARCA issuing their report to the feds. And so I want to say a couple things here about ARCA's report. When you go back to those September 2022 filings that I told you guys about, in those filings, the defense puts forth that the Commonwealth is saying that somehow Karen hit John the back of his head with the SUV. And they said it in open court too. And Lally would be like, I don't know why you keep saying that. No one has ever said that. We have always said.
I remember that.
But interestingly enough, ARCA tests this theory. So you have to ask yourself, why would they test that theory? That's not what the Commonwealth is saying happened. The only people that have ever said that is the defense. And they're testing that. That's very bizarre. And then the other thing that they tested was, that potato cannon, whether or not you could throw the glass at the taillight and it would break, which again, what a weird thing for them to be testing since, that's not what the Commonwealth was saying happened. So why did they pick those two things? They said they had a very limited scope. So it seems as though the U.S. Attorney's Office, those people in charge, picked those things. And so I would love to know from those three men, why did you ask for those things to be tested? Very bizarre. And it was very bizarre to me to watch the reaction from Karen's supporters, the reaction that these two guys had done so great on the stand. I mean, they came up with this weird, what did Rentschler say? They put it on a t-shirt, like the science and the physics, like whatever it was. It was just,
what was that?
Oh my God. If those people said those two words to me one more time on Twitter, I was going to lose my mind.
With those two.
Yeah.
Obsessed with them.
Yes.
And they literally testified to nothing in the first trial.
Right.
Nothing. Yep. It was nothing. It was ridiculousness. I have to stop saying that word. Oh my God, I gotta get a new one. Yeah. So that's the day that they issue their report. And then 9 days later, we get the response from the TUI request, what they had come together in a joint request and requested from the feds, and they get more than 3,000 pages. And so those pages aren't indexed in any way. They just kind of give those to them. This was a big deal when it happened. You guys probably remember this. I remember sometime in January and February, it was over the weekend, and I got a message. I got a DM, and it was one of John's friends. And so I had seen it in the middle of the night, and this person was asking whether or not I believe this Fed stuff. And that message really broke my heart a little bit, because I can't imagine, reaching out to people like, you're not believing this stuff. Like, and this was, a close friend of John's. It was really sad to me to see how this intrusion, really, this investigation was an intrusion into the Commonwealth case, how it affected everything, and how it deeply and personally affected these people who were victims, his survivors. It's just so sad.
Yeah.
That happened on February 21st. And then on March 20th, 2024, there's a pretrial hearing. We have a video to go along with this. I want to listen to the video first. It's one of my favorite videos.
After receiving the notice from the Commonwealth last week, I contacted the U.S. Attorney's Office and I spoke to the lead prosecutor in the case.
Okay.
What I want to have the court know is that I have permission to notify the court that Brian Albert, his wife Nicole, his son Brian Jr., and Caitlin are not targets of the federal investigation. And I've given permission to disclose that in open court.
Okay.
So I think it's important for the court to know that as you go into the motion that you're considering and the arguments from the defense. The third thing I would like to just ask the court is, notwithstanding everything that's just been said and reserving the right to file that written document later on, Brian Albert does not object to turning over the materials that are being requested.
I've represented Brian Higgins since April of 2023, the month when he received the federal grand jury subpoena. Like he has in this case, Brian has cooperated fully with the federal investigation. He has answered every question put to him in both investigations, and he will continue to do so because he has nothing to hide. Brian Higgins is not a target of the federal investigation. That has been confirmed by the United States Attorney's Office and confirmed to me that I could make that representation in court. The U.S. Attorney's Office has continuously confirmed throughout its investigation that Brian Higgins is not a target of their investigation. Brian Higgins has not participated in any kind of a cover-up or conspiracy to cover up the criminal activity of others. Brian has spent his career saving lives. He was a firefighter before becoming an ATF agent. He's been an EMT since 1992. He received a Congressional Medal for saving the life of a fellow ATF task force officer after being shot 5 times in Somerville, Massachusetts. He has served our military in Iraq. Participating in a cover-up is contrary to who he is as a human being and a professional. I am here to
love that.
So I don't know if people understand how unprecedented that is for attorneys to be allowed to state that in open court from a U.S. Attorney's Office. I don't think people realize that. I think that if the media wasn't the way they are in this, that would have been, stated in the media. That's not done.
Mm-hmm.
And if you could have seen Aidan Kearney and I think it was the Glera and Brian LTL's reactions when that was announced, they know that's not done. It should have ended everything there. Done. Over.
Yeah.
Ended the conspiracy.
Yep.
But for some reason, it did not.
Yeah.
Oh, well, of course,
Yeah, I was
nothing's ever going to end it.
Mm-hmm. I mean,
No.
that was a slap in the face to the defense, right?
Mhm.
To their defense theory right there.
Yep.
100%. And so
Mhm.
impressed with those 2 attorneys.
They were so great.
Especially, I really like Henning. We had seen him a couple times
Yep.
before that. And then Brian Higgins' attorney, incredibly impressed with both of them.
Yeah.
Brian Albert was, so at that time they were asking for Brian Albert's phone, Brian Higgins' phone, as well as Kevin Albert. They were trying to pull Kevin Albert into it.
Oh my God. Do you remember that?
Yeah, the reason why they were doing it is because he had Kevin Albert and Brian Higgins had a short phone conversation sometime before, very closely, I don't know if it was the day or the day before, he testified in front of the federal grand jury, and the defense was basically trying to say like Kevin was, I don't know, threatening him or trying to get information out of him. It was just pure, again, fantastical fiction. That's not what happened. And so Brian Albert, at that point, you heard Mr. Henning say, he was like, go ahead, you can have whatever you want. I'm done with this. Both Higgins' attorney and Kevin Albert's attorney were like, no, this is a privacy issue. We have a Fourth Amendment for a reason. We're not giving you anything. Unless
we have to remember, right? Higgins is an undercover agent, and and these lunatics want his phone. And the other thing that we all have to remember too is, right, the feds clearly did a geo brand, like they know who was at 34 Fairview when and where that night. They know that.
Yeah, I mean, that's a really good point, Carrie. We saw that in the first trial. You saw it with them knowing that, that Jen had ridden with Carrie Roberts to Lang's house, that the daughter was there, or they were picking up or dropping off. And so the feds had a geofence on all these people, guys.
They did.
That's where they got that information. So I talk about what the Commonwealth had gotten, and they had that list with the redacted numbers. But, then the feds went in and they got a geofence. So,
So they know that Colin Albert wasn't shielding the house at 3:30 in the morning. They know that. They know that what time he was home. They know
100%. Yeah, 100%. And so that same day that happened in court, Jackson begins communicating with ARCA about engagement. And so one of the things I want to point out, and I'm sure a lot of people have thought this as well, Karen was on trial for second-degree murder. The manner in which she was accused of killing someone was with a vehicle. And Karen waited all this time and had no accident reconstructionist. She had no expert. She was just going on a wing and a prayer that ARCA was going to deliver something for her. I don't believe that for 1 second. I really don't believe that. I think she always knew what ARCA was going to test, and she always knew. And again, this is just me, and I'm speculating, so don't take it as fact. But it's a very weird situation to me for a defendant with that much on the line not to have an expert lined up. So I don't know what you guys think about that, but I find that very strange. And why would that be? And why would she think she would be getting these experts out of this investigation? It's just very bizarre to me.
It is. Like, who was she talking to? Why did she think that?
Yeah. Yeah. And you know how controlling Karen is. So you think she's going to leave that up to chance? I mean, that doesn't make very much sense to me at all. So
The only thing I'll say is they also didn't have a dog bite expert until the trial.
No, you're right.
Underway. So that's the only thing that, but I don't know.
I mean, I think Julie said it yesterday a million times, right? I don't think they ever thought this was going to go to trial.
Yeah,
They thought that the Commonwealth was going to be like I just said, the feds, they have ruined this. Like, what are we going to go in now? And everyone knows there's a federal investigation. Like, that was the whole plan.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because you're right. They didn't hire Russell until during the trial, which was crazy.
Yeah. And if you go back to that email when she hired Jackson, she's talking about some kind of work ethic and strategies that she was about to employ. And she wasn't sure if David Yannetti was going to go along with it. So,
well, I think we can see from the text, he had no problem going along with it.
Oh,
he was just fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So and this is a good point. Yeah. Oh, hold on. Where's it at? There it is. Yeah. I use expert very loosely.
I wish if you guys haven't seen, I know most of you watch the trial, but a lot of people don't watch the hearings, the motions. If you have not seen her Lanigan hearing with Hank Brennan, you got to watch it. Maybe one night. Maybe we'll do it on the show one night because it's classic.
It's
classic.
It's hilarious. Actually.
It is.
We should.
We actually should because it is hilarious.
Yeah.
We will actually. So don't watch it. We'll do it.
Yep. And so then on March 22nd, 2024, and no one knew this was going on. you're going to see the fallout from this. There are more communications between Jackson and ARCA, specifically Wolf, for sure, we know. And then we have that pause email, right? So the U.S. Attorney's Office said, hey, we don't know if you can be involved in this. And we don't know the communication that happened or who it came from as to why the U.S. Attorney's Office would step in and be like, hey, we got to shut this down, because how would they know that Jackson reached out unless someone is also communicating with the U.S. Attorney's Office? So when I was listening, and it was a little bit difficult for me. So the pause email may have been on the 24th. I may have gotten that wrong, but it's within that 2-day range. And so then April 27th of 2024, there's some more communication with ARCA. They send over a list of cases. And then 2 days later, Karen Reed's first trial begins. So we can go on to the next one. Yep. And so during the trial, Brian Albert is notified by Apple of the legal request for the Apple data that they had gotten from him. And so remember, I had said last night that they had, the U.S. Attorney's Office had reached out to Apple on multiple. It wasn't just one time that they reached out for phone data. It was multiple times. And when you read Apple's policy, they say they usually notify the user about 90 days later. So clearly this is coming much later than 90 days. And so again, what was in those warrants? We need to know that. We need to know it, but I mean, the witnesses for sure deserve that information. And so we have another video for this one, and this is on the 10th of June. I remember this day very clearly. And this is when it was represented to the court that they did not prep with ARCA. So here we go.
Court sidebar. These experts did not arise from us.
I understand.
These experts were hired by the federal government, and they provided a report to us pursuant to the TUI request, and it was specifically outlined that and ruled that they could not prep with us.
So I'm to believe that the defense is calling 3 witnesses that you've never spoken to and putting them on the stand here
that's essentially it. We've spoken to them only for the purposes of coordination of their testimony and their background. That's it. We have not been able to interview them regarding their findings, which are outlined in detail in the reports that both sides have.
See, I don't see that as being, the report, I don't see that as being detailed. It leaves a lot of questions as the gatekeeper as to what they can testify to. Well, and you have not complied with your Rule 14 obligations.
We can't, Your Honor.
So you can't, but you haven't. So I am left with, you haven't complied. So we need to get everybody here for voir dire. They can testify in voir dire, right?
Yes.
We need to do that well in advance of their testimony.
Okay, that's fine, Your Honor.
All right.
Yep.
And now tell me about this ER document.
Yes, sir.
Importantly, were you hired by the defense in this case?
No, sir.
Before this morning, you walked into court. You and I ever met face to face?
No, sir.
In terms of the commission that you were asked to undertake in this case, that have anything to do with the defense?
No, sir.
That have anything to do with the Commonwealth?
No, sir.
So a third-party agency hired you and commissioned you, or ARCA, with the responsibility of doing an accident reconstruction in this case, correct?
Correct.
The person to my left, this female to my left sitting here, you ever seen her before?
Nope.
You know who she is?
Yes.
And whatever they are, those analysis, conclusions, and opinions in this case are completely independent of the defense and of the Commonwealth. Have I got that right?
It's based on the evidence. That's correct.
And you're not paid by either side here in this courtroom?
Correct.
Yeah, that is what we know now. That is just, he's such a drama queen, and he's such an actor. He's such an actor, and a bad one. And, I always feel bad after, because, I give Judge Canona a hard time a lot, but I mean, when I watch a clip like that, I realize that she knew what was going on. And, I know that she did her best under really hard circumstances, with this federal government stuff. But
yeah. Yeah. And you heard the last question that Jackson asked about being paid. And, if we're going to get to it, but, Alessi tried to make it seem like when the initial email went to Wolf and it was about engagement and it was about a retainer, that, he was just trying to, say, do I need a retainer? Well, if you're going to have a retainer, you're going to pay them. Like, come on. Yikes.
And the way he worded his questions too, right? Have we ever met before? I mean, now we know they've spoken to each other 100 times. Via Signal. I mean, it's just, he's so dirty.
Well, and you remember how upset the defense was about the formal the formal,
Yes.
what did
Yeah.
they call it? Yeah. So they made a big deal out of this, but that was, no big deal that they
Yeah.
did that.
Mhm.
And so then ARCA has a voir dire on June 18th. And we all know, we talked a little bit about how they testified and about that report and how it really had nothing to do with what the Commonwealth was saying had happened. And then on the 23rd.
Well, Julie, let me interrupt for a second. We also forgot to mention, I don't know if people are aware, like the federal government didn't even give ARCA Karen Reed's telematics from her car. Like do you remember they weren't even given that. So
No.
that's how
Right.
limited their scope was. They didn't even have her backing up, they didn't even have all that. They didn't give them that, which is just, think about that.
Yep. And so this is before ARCA testifies on the 23rd of June. There's some more emails between Jackson and Wolf. There's an outline of the Q&A, and we all remember that where, he's suggesting things. Wolf is, commenting on it and saying, you might want to ask me this, don't I, should I do that? And so the one thing I do want to say about this, and it came out in pre-trial hearings, we're going to see those in the timeline, that the outline wasn't dated. So I'm assuming that it was the 23rd, but it wasn't dated. And then on the 24th, ARCA testifies, and we talked about that a little bit. I still am like, my mind's blown that people thought they were such great witnesses, because the one thing that they did testify to that was valuable was that there is no way Karen backing into John's Traverse would have broken that taillight. That gets overshadowed quite a bit. And so then on the 2nd of July, there is a mistrial declared and the jury is hung. So we're going to go to the next one. And so shortly after that, 10 days later, ARCA sends their invoice to Reed's defense. On that invoice, they include trial prep.
This was the out of the blue invoice, right? That just appeared.
Supposedly.
Yeah. That just appeared on Jackson's desk.
Yeah. Oh, you want us to pay? Yeah.
It just appeared out of the blue, Judge.
Yeah. Oh, goodness. And then on the 25th of July, Alberts and McCabe's are notified again by Apple of a legal request for their data. And then the defense, so the invoice was sent to Jackson's office. Someone from, I'm assuming Jackson's office, but someone from the defense called Adam Deach and asked if they could pay that invoice. That's what they say the conversation was. But Deach gives the okay, and they pay ARCA approximately $23,000. So remember on Twitter, people were going back and forth trying to say it was just for travel expenses. Guys, no.
Yes.
Absolutely not. And then shortly after that, ARCA's contract with the United States Attorney's Office terminates. Nobody knows this at the time. And then the following month, at the end of the month, on August 26th, the O'Keeffes filed their wrongful death suit against Karen Reed. And then on the 28th, we have some media to go along with this. Josh Levy holds a press conference on Sandra Birchmore. Yeah.
When someone comes to our office with credible information that a police officer may have been involved in a murder and underlying legal violations as set forth in the indictment, we're going to investigate that case every time. They come in different shapes and sizes, but that is our duty to the public, is to pursue credible leads like that and investigate them fully. Yep. We get leads on cases all the time from all different sources. I'm not going to comment on how we get information on.
I bet you're not.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and the reporters there were trying to ask about the Reed case. He didn't want to talk about it, but he made those comments, right? And so I would really love to know from the U.S. Attorney's Office what was so credible about what they got and why they investigated the Reed case. I personally, like I said, I believe they went with those September 2022 filings. That's the information the defense had at the time. And we know that it wasn't credible, right? It was just Karen Reed sitting up till, early morning hours, finding pictures on social media. It just insanity. Just
I
insanity.
mean, so their credible evidence was from the person charged with murder.
Right.
Correct.
Correct. Makes no sense.
Correct. And if you listen closely to what Levy said, you know, he says if you say something about a police officer, particularly when it's, you know, the surrounding subject is murder, we're going to investigate it every time.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, we saw you do that. We saw you you meddle in a Commonwealth case that you should have never been in. And then we have Hank Brennan on September 18th. He is appointed special prosecutor for the Reed case. That was a great day.
Yeah, I wanted to like put stars and sparkles around that one, but I kept it professional.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Hank is the reason that we know a lot of this stuff, right? Because he was not letting this go. He was not.
He made a really good record, right? A really good record.
He did.
No matter what the verdict was, I mean, he made a really good record of a lot of things that we wouldn't know. You're right.
Yep.
Yep. And then on October 22nd, we find out, we don't know this at the time, but the defense takes the notice of discovery 1 through 47. So this is in the second trial. This is the discovery they're getting, and they turn that all over to the U.S. Attorney's Office. And then on November 19th, Matt McCabe is notified of the Apple legal request. I know, it's just, you're shaking your head like, wow.
It's just insane.
You know what? Hillbilly, my friend Hillbilly was in the chat earlier. He said something funny, but I didn't want to interrupt you guys. He said, but wait, LTL says Apple cannot give your information to the federal government without alerting you. So
well,
that's
there
what
you go, Brian.
Yeah, there you go, Brian.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And so this is coming from Hank Brennan. He's trying to get information on ARCA. He knows that the defense is going to have discovery obligations. He's concerned about them not being able to meet those discovery obligations. And so he sends a two-way request to the U.S. Attorney's Office, and he's asking for discovery. And then on the 5th, the following day, oh, sorry. I think on the 5th is when the first notice that he says that there's a concern. Hold on just a second. That there's a concern about not being able to meet the discovery request for ARCA. So let me go back here and just take a look real quick. Sorry, guys. No, I put it just like that. So I think that's when he makes the first filing. He's concerned about ARCA, so we can move on. I think that's of the defense. He makes the first discovery. Sorry, you guys, my brain's a little fried. Discovery request of the defense because he knows that this is going to be a problem.
Gotcha.
And so then we're into 2025. Yay, we've gotten through 3 years of this stuff, guys. So January 6, 2025, the Commonwealth files notice of intent to exclude ARCA. And this, again, is because the defense is not going to be able to meet their discovery obligations. And then we had the change of presidents, right? So Donald Trump won the presidency. And we've got Josh Levy. He was a Biden appointee. So he is resigning as the acting U.S. attorney for the District of Massachusetts. And then 3 days later, Leah Foley comes in and she is appointed U.S. attorney for the District of Massachusetts. And then 10 days later, both the Commonwealth and the defense receive a 4-page letter from the U.S. attorney's office that it's from, I believe her first name is Mary, the last name is Moraine, stating that the investigation is still open and stating that discovery is restricted. It also includes some of that billing information from ARCA. So there was some information that was released to them, to Hank's, I'm calling him Hank like he's my friend, to Mr. Brennan's request for discovery, his 2-way request. And so this is when things are really going to heat up.
Do you guys remember how
February.
It was either, I can't remember, it was Braden or Hoops fighting with Nurse Kim about Josh Levy. She was like so insistent on Twitter that Levy would be staying in office. And then when everything was announced that he resigned, I can't remember which one of them it was, but it was so that was a great. You're muted, Carrie.
Our poor, sweet summer child, Nurse Kim. Ugh.
She
My
actually
goodness.
thought he was going to stay on when
Yeah.
even after Trump won.
Yeah. Right.
Imagine if he had. Imagine
Yeah.
if that administration had stayed though, and he had stayed on. I can't even imagine what.
Oh God.
I can't even imagine what would have still been going on with this nonsense.
No.
Yeah, I can't imagine. So at the time, we don't know these things are going on, but on February 6th, the U.S. Attorney's Office sent a letter to both the Commonwealth and the defense that the ARCA contract had ended back in July of 2024. And they also include this kind of weird thing that if someone intends to engage ARCA, it must not infringe on federal privileges. That's kind of a weird thing, right? For them to be saying. And so then the Commonwealth again reaches out to the U.S. Attorney's Office, and they're questioning the change in the position on discovery. And then on the 11th of February, Hank Brennan formally moves to exclude ARCA as witnesses, and this is because of those discovery failures. So Hank Brennan, behind the scenes, is doing work for the defense, trying to get this information for them. I think at the time there was this this impression on social media that Hank was trying to exclude them and he was being terrible. And when you look at the work that was done, he was really trying to get that discovery for the defense. And I think he also was kind of pulling some strings because he knew there was something very odd about this relationship. It was very odd.
Yeah, well, his
so then,
original motion was just that his intention, if he could not get the discovery, was to move to exclude them.
Mm-hmm.
His initial reaction was not to try to exclude them. It was just, hey, I need the discovery. If I don't get it, this is what I'm going to do, which any attorney would do. You're owed your discovery.
Right.
But they all held that.
Yep.
Yeah, he was a horrible person.
Horrible, because he wanted the discovery. Right.
Yeah. How dare he?
Right. I mean, a fair trial has to be fair for both sides, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the defense does have discovery obligations. They have reciprocal discovery obligations. So, yeah. So then on February 12th, the United States Attorney's Office provides more TUI about the ARCA communications. So the federal government releases this information to the Commonwealth, and just this is a day apart that we see this, and these are emails between the defense and the United States Attorney about using ARCA, and it's ARCA communications with the defense as well. And so then on the 13th, the next day after the U.S. Attorney's Office releases this information, all of a sudden the defense is going to provide those emails.
I remember this. I remember when this happened, laughing so hard, like, oh crap, we're caught. Oh yeah, here we have it. Here you go.
They realize that Josh Levy is not there to protect them anymore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yep. And so this is the next slide. I believe I think we have a video that goes with this. So
Yes.
there's a hearing on the 18th. There's two videos that go along with this. So first, Elizabeth Little gets up, and let's hear what she says.
Can't avoid cross-examination on
Her
evidence
hair looked
that
good back then.
trial by failing to disclose who obtained it and when. And I can understand why they might not want to do that. There's an ongoing federal investigation. No one seems to want to take ownership of these videos.
I think that was the day that she tried to.
So there they are again.
That was the day that she tried to bring Sandra Birchmore in. She kept using the Sandra Birchmore case.
That is exactly the day.
It was so disgusting.
Yeah. And you want me to go ahead and play this one, Julie? Okay.
All right.
Yep. So this is after.
You're a little behind.
Sorry.
All right.
It's like totally
So
frozen for me.
the Commonwealth just provided the court with information that causes me grave concern. The implications of that information may have profound effects on this defense and defense counsel. So for that reason, I'm going to suspend today so that when we meet again to address these issues, all affected will be appropriately prepared. So I'll see you a week from today at 11 o'clock in the morning. You can tell me now if that is impossible for you. And where Mr. Brennan, where the federal authorities have been kind enough in the past to allow me to have copies of every
Yeah. Do you guys remember that hearing?
I sure do.
Yep.
Yeah, that was a
Sure do.
shocking hearing. Like it was,
Yeah.
remember Alan Jackson walking out of court and they're asking him, and he's like, I don't know. I don't know. Like you could see he was just shook, the look on his face.
And Karen was right next to him too. They were both
He
just
was
like,
Yep.
yep.
yeah, like a bomb had gone off.
Yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
And so then that following day, and I think this was probably in response to Elizabeth Little. I mean, everything that happened that day during that hearing, Elizabeth Little is again trying to bring up this federal investigation as a shield. Then she's trying to implicate investigators that were in the, part of the Sandra Birchmore case and part of the Reed case, and trying to put those two things together. It was really,
She
was really
named their names in court that day. She said their names.
Sure
it
did.
was disgusting. It was terrible.
Horrible.
Well, they've
Horrible.
tried to use that from the beginning,
Yes.
right? I mean, from the very beginning, they used that poor girl's investigation.
Yes.
I really think
Disgusting.
they used that to get hers open.
Yes.
Hey guys, there's also corruption in this case. You're investigating corruption in that case. Guess what? It's here too. I mean, I don't know. That's my opinion. I don't know that for sure, but it certainly seems that was the case because it continues to play in to Karen's case throughout all of this time.
Right. And I believe, and I think this has been stated even by the federal government, the Commonwealth and MSP are the ones that reached out to them for help in the Sandra Birchmore case.
Yes.
Yeah. And I'll never forget when she was naming cops' names that day. I'm not going to say the name she said. It was so repulsive. It was just what they do all the time. And then on social media for the next 2 days, it was those cops and pictures of them. And they're just gross. And like Julie said, I think that's why this then happened on February 19th, literally the day after.
Yeah.
Yep. I think we have a video to go along with this. So that's the day that Hank finds out it's closed.
Within 24 hours of those arguments, the Norfolk County District Attorney's Office was contacted by the United States Attorney's Office. And let me make crystal clear, they made clear that I could inform the court there is no longer any federal investigation into the investigation of John O'Keefe's death or any related matters. It is closed. It is over. So all those implications and innuendos that erode at the objectivity of our potential jury pool, well, they become more egregious when you see that they're not based on reality or fact. And so
yeah.
You see her parents.
Yep.
Janet, especially looking at Nathan.
Yep. And then, I mean, they're nodding, right? The parents, nodding like this is not true, which then, that night and still do you remember everyone was saying that wasn't true? Like Hank Brennan would go into open court and lie about the federal government telling him about an investigation. Like that's how, I'm sorry, that's how stupid all these people are.
But think about this too, Carrie. So Yannetti did lie about the federal investigation by saying that Morrissey was the target.
You're right.
That very same night, the feds came out and said, no, we never said that was the case.
Yes. And you know what?
If Hank had lied in court, that they would be potentially doing the same thing.
Yes. And I totally forgot when Julie said that woman's name before, and I'm not going to be able to remember it. This just reminded me because it was all so close. The one who wrote the letter about the federal investigation still being open, Mary
Yes.
Marianne. She was gone. She was gone right now too. She was out. She was gone, and one would have to assume it was because of writing that letter. She was part of the old administration.
Right.
And she was also within this, within, I think it was this day, she was no longer with them. She left. So it's just, there's just so many, it's just really sad.
Yeah. And then on the 25th, we have that hearing that Judge, is it Cannoni or is it Cannone?
Cannoni.
That Judge Cannoni had talked about the week prior. The defense has to come back and basically explain themselves. And remember, we had Alessi in his notebook, and we learned a lot of things that we didn't know during that hearing. Yeah. Oh, I listened to it a couple times. He's hard to listen to. He's very difficult. Remember in the beginning where he's like, and trying to say like, I'm going to do this. And Judge Cannoni's like,
I'm going to tell you. I mean,
she's like, just tell me. Like
that guy, holy moly.
She said exactly what we were all saying. Can you just do it? Just say it. Just do it.
But remember the few times he would be like, first I'm going to tell you, then I'm going to tell you, then I'm going to tell you. That was insane.
It was something. Yep. And then the feds reveal the federal investigation is closed. And we have two letters here. One of them is, so this one, I think it's Elisa Beatty, and she is memorializing a phone conversation that she had. And basically this says, so she's sending it to all of these people. I write to inform you that the U.S. Attorney's Office recently contacted me to advise the NDAO that the United States Attorney for the District of Massachusetts reviewed the federal investigation into the death of John O'Keefe. After that review, the U.S. Attorney's Office indicated the investigation is no longer active and is being closed. The U.S. Attorney's Office said the NDAO could share that information publicly, which we saw Hank do that. We've got a redacted part here, and then it goes, I've asked the U.S. Attorney's Office for written confirmation that the investigation is being closed. I informed the U.S. Attorney's Office that ADAs will need to notify defense counsel and the court that the federal investigation is being closed. Please call me with any questions. Thank you for your efforts. I mean, you would think this would stop the banter on social media, but man, these people, her supporters, did not want to believe this. And then there's another
everyone was
another email that goes along with that one, and I believe this is from the U.S. Attorney's Office. Yes, it's from William Abley. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. And this is, obviously they had a conversation. This is the person that wrote the prior email. Hi, Lisa. Thanks to you and Peggy for speaking with me. My contact info is below. Yeah, this should have shut everything down, but then you still had people kind of, I mean, even Aidan Carney was trying to say, you know, oh, they heard it from the horse's mouth. It's still open. Like they were all still trying to push it because this was a very, very valuable commodity for them to have that investigation open.
Yep.
And have it put the shadow on Karen's prosecution. And so that is on the 4th. Hank Brennan announces in open court the federal investigation is over. On the 18th, and we're going to listen to Judge Cannoni tell the world what she found.
I don't expect to have to address this again. Candor with the court is essential. It's the bedrock obligation of all lawyers who appear in this court and all courts in Massachusetts. A lawyer is only as good as his or her word, and I need to be able to take counsel at their word. So I'm not going to tolerate false statements, any stretching of the truth, no misleading distortions. There's no place for that in the courtroom. And Mr. Jackson, you stated this very eloquently in your closing argument last time. So Commonwealth, I am denying your motion to exclude the ARCA witnesses. Those witnesses can time the truth or words. notwithstanding the Rule 14 violation and the apparent lack of candor, the findings and rulings I've made. So all of her not make the record clear. Mr. Jackson, are you lead counsel?
We don't define our roles in such a manner, Your Honor.
Okay.
Sorry about that, guys.
Because Mr. Yannetti is not pro hoc vice counsel, and Mr. Yannetti can try this case if need be by himself. All right. But Ms. Reed does have a strong desire to keep all of her lawyers, notwithstanding the Rule 14 violation and the apparent lack of candor, the findings and rulings I've made. So based on that, I am not going to revoke pro hoc vice licenses. I don't expect to have to address this again. Candor with the court is essential. It's the bedrock obligation of all lawyers who appear in this court and all courts.
Is it just repeating again, Julie?
I think so. I'm sorry, you guys. I don't think I edited that one greatly, so I apologize for that. It was a little messy. I'm so sorry.
We got the gist.
But yeah, that was shocking, right? I mean, basically, she said you were not truthful with the court.
Yeah, and Julie, think about this. That's the Lawyers Weekly Lawyer of the Year.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of weird.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
And remember, they tried to, as far as the ARCA communications, they tried to go with this thing. Well, oh, David Yannetti didn't know about it. He wasn't CC'd. You know, no one told you to have 347 lawyers. It's up to you to CC everyone. But
and
yeah, it was just the whole thing.
I don't believe that for a second.
Yeah. No,
and
no, it was
you know
ridiculous.
what's you know what's interesting? Rule 14 violation and lack of candor. Those are two things that would have immediately ended Brian Higgins and Brian Albert's careers. Immediately.
Yep.
So think about that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. And so then the following day, after that happens in court, Michael Proctor is fired for violation of policies, including the inappropriate text about Reed. What's really important about this is he was not fired for corruption. There was no cover-up found in that case. Yeah. And then the following day is the first time the world gets to hear David Yannetti say anything about that subpoena he received.
That I received a subpoena for my entire file from the federal government, and I complied with that subpoena. We had nothing to hide. We provided everything that the Commonwealth provided to us, to the federal government. They chose what to give ARCA or what not to give ARCA. And
Yep. So we find out about that. That was interesting that day.
Why do you think he said that day?
There were arguments, and it was in response to something Hank said. Okay. And so I think, he was trying to pull that out of his back pocket, like, oh, I had to do that. Like I had a subpoena. Okay. And so then after all this mess, then the defense sends a notice that they're going to engage ARCA again as witnesses. And they reveal, that's when we find out that they were still giving stuff over to the U.S. Attorney's Office. And so this is from a motion. And so this is basically, this is telling us that the Commonwealth received notice on the 25th that they intended to use ARCA as witnesses again. And then the next one is from that same motion. And it is about that ongoing subpoena.
Yeah, give me 1 second. I'll get it up.
Yep. And yeah, there it is. And so I highlighted that part. On March 25th, 2025, the Commonwealth was informed that discovery produced to the defense, I can't see the bottom part, but there we go, was in turn being provided to the U.S. Attorney's Office in an ongoing manner and included the entirety of the Commonwealth's discovery referenced in notices of discovery 1 through notice 57. So that's the second trial, guys. They're still giving that stuff over. Interesting. And so then on the 22nd of April, the second trial begins. And then on the 28th, we've got some videos to go along with this too. That's when we have that ARCA voir dire. I think the first video is Hank. This is after it's happened, but let's listen to what he has to say about it.
Examination. And what we unfortunately learned is that during the trial, when this court had a sequestration order, information was being passed to the experts about witness testimony in this case, unknown to the Commonwealth, unknown to the court, information, particular information, not general information, witness testimony, issues in the case that we have no idea who is deciding or identifying the issues and who the advantage is given to in describing those issues. But that is witnesses being prepped through an intermediary. So we know the Department of Justice, at least, is violating the order, helping the witnesses along, and then they testify unbeknownst to the Commonwealth that they have this information, but obviously is reflected in the testimony.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. And so then the next one is Daniel Wolf. And these are some of the things that he said during that voir dire. And then we can talk about that a little bit because there were some shocking things that we found out.
Do I have that one? Hold on. I think I only have one linked here, Julie.
So yeah, that's okay. So basically, Daniel Wolf had admitted that he used Signal, admitted after fighting about it that he had deleted communications with the defense. We found out that not only had the U.S. Attorney's Office meddled and for the first time ever opened an investigation in a Commonwealth case where someone had already been charged, during that trial, when those witnesses should have been sequestered, they were giving information about other witness testimony to these ARCA witnesses. That's shocking. That's shocking.
Okay. Sorry, I was just trying to make sure I didn't have it.
And
linked.
so then we can move on. Yeah, no, you're good. Yeah, you're good. I'll post it. It was just a compilation of
yeah, I
Wolf
remember
and his
seeing
ridiculousness.
That. Sorry.
And so then, yeah,
His Signal
no, you're fine.
messages.
You're good. Yeah. And then on June 18th, Reed is acquitted of murder, manslaughter. She's convicted of the OUI. We have to wonder on this day, if not for that federal investigation, would this have been the result? I don't know. We're never going to know. And then about a month later, we find out about Jessica Leslie, and she's charged with linking grand jury info. We got two things to go along with this. We've got a statement that her attorney made in court. I'm going to read it to you. So Keith Halprin says, I can't think of any case in Massachusetts during a time of social media that has brought more fervor than this case. Leslie felt that a horrible wrong was being done to someone, and the grand jury proceedings were a way to fix that. I mean, think about that for a second, guys. Again, I mean, we've talked about it before. Anytime there is an attack on the sanctity of our justice system, that's a big deal. And so here we have this woman who is doing this. She's leaking information because she thinks that whatever her thought is, she's the person that's in charge of justice for people. It's shocking. Right. And so the next thing you're going to see, we found this out much later. The person who prosecuted that case was, I believe I'm saying her name correctly, Ann Peruti at the U.S. Attorney's Office. Ann Peruti is married to, I believe his name is Michael Loans. Is that correct? He is the campaign manager for Adam Deitch, of all people, right? So here, this is the first time we've got a grand juror charged with leaking information, and she gets, a really light sentence, and it kind of just goes away and gets swept under the rug. And the person who prosecuted that and made that deal went to high school with Karen Reed, and they were friends. And she has a twin. Her name is Trisha. There is a social media record and a history between the two. I think Karen called her Twix or Twix or whatever she called her. But yep, so here we find an actual direct connection to someone, and it's not on Michael Proctor's side or the witness's side. It is Karen Reed herself with a U.S. attorney.
Yep.
Yep, there they are. And so then the following month, Jessica Leslie pleads guilty to criminal contempt, and we've talked about that a bit. This was really, in my opinion, swept under the rug. She got a sweetheart deal, and it didn't go any further than that. Crazy, right?
And I remember the judge gave her a harsher sentence than the prosecutor asked for, right?
Yes. Yep. Sure did.
Yeah, because they came in with something at first, and the judge was like, "Yeah, no," but still, I don't think it was. Again, you're talking about an attack on the justice system. Like, we've got to take that seriously. And so, on the 2nd of October, Leslie is sentenced to 2 months house arrest with 2 years supervised release. And then Adam Deach resigns from the U.S. Attorney's Office. That is on November 7th of 2025. And then on the 18th, he announces his candidacy for Norfolk County District Attorney. Michael Morrissey is not running at this time, and Adam has thrown his hat into the ring. And here is a campaign video of his.
Everyone deserves to live in a community where we feel safe, where we have trust in our leaders to serve with competence, integrity, and professionalism. My name is Adam Deitch. I grew up in a community with safe streets, good policing, and faith that those in power were honest, hardworking public servants. Until 10 days ago, I served as a federal prosecutor in Boston. I took on cases throughout Massachusetts: bank robberies, gun and drug cases, child exploitation, cyber stalking, and all kinds of fraud. But what I've spent most of my time doing is trying to root out public corruption in our state, including and especially right here in Norfolk County. I left my job in the U.S. Attorney's Office because when I see a problem, I want to solve it. Over the course of my career, I've learned that the overwhelming majority of police officers and prosecutors work hard and do the right thing. I've also been proud to stand shoulder to shoulder with members of law enforcement who work tirelessly to keep our streets safe. But I also know there can be grave consequences when they don't. I've seen firsthand what happens when police and prosecutors take shortcuts, rush to judgment, and then stubbornly won't consider other possibilities. That's what's been happening in Norfolk County for far too long. That's why I'm running for Norfolk County District Attorney as a prosecutor, not a politician. Norfolk County deserves leaders we can be proud of, who serve with honesty, transparency, and accountability. This campaign is about more than electing a new district attorney. It's about building a culture of accountability and integrity where professional police work protects victims, not insiders, and where we follow the evidence no matter where it leads or who it implicates. That's the standard I've lived by prosecuting corruption throughout Massachusetts, and that's exactly what I'll do as the next Norfolk County DA. Together, let's build a district attorney's office we can be proud of.
Oh my God.
So can I just say a few things about that?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean,
oh, absolutely. Please do.
I live in Norfolk County, right? And to see that, I haven't seen that in a long time. I only obviously saw it when it first came out, but I can't even tell you how angry that makes me. So Adam Deach, who strangely enough has now moved to Norfolk County. He didn't even live here. So he bought himself a condo in Quincy so he could run for the office currently being held by the very man he was once investigating, right? And like Julie just said, what's even stranger is his campaign manager is married to a woman Karen Reed went to high school with. So think about that. Adam Deach's campaign manager is married to a woman that Karen Reed went to high school with, who also happens to be an assistant U.S. attorney at the DOJ in Boston, which means she would have directly worked with Levy, Deach, and Dustin Chow, who were in charge of this investigation. One of the things that I I just want to make clear is Deitch running for DA, the witnesses couldn't care less because Deitch knows that the witnesses didn't do anything. Deitch actually had a private conversation with one of the witnesses outside the courtroom during their grand jury where he apologized for all the abuse that they were receiving and wished them all well and expressed hope that, you know, when the trial's ending, with the trial, that they can move on with their lives and find peace. Which is pretty funny, right? Because the reason none of them have peace is pretty much because of the federal investigation, in my opinion. Obviously, it's because of all of the nonsense that the defense put out, but this really added to it because it gave it like some validity, right? Like that it was something was going on. So, you know, Adam Deitch can be upset about the investigation. You know, he can want to right the ship, as he said. But it's very unethical to me, especially living here in Norfolk County. And it's really upsetting the way he's trying to portray this to the public, you know, and the way he's running on the Karen Reed case and, you know, corruption when there was none found.
Right.
He's aware that only one person is responsible for John O'Keefe's death. He knows. He had everybody's phone data. He had all of their geofence. Adam Deitch knows. He knows where everybody was. They investigated this. They wanted so badly to find something, to prove corruption, to prove Morrissey was, you know, doing something wrong. All they found were those texts. And I'm not excusing those texts. They were terrible. I've never excused Michael Proctor in those texts. But my God, I mean, watching the commercial.
Yeah, I mean, I'm surprised the footage in front of the courthouse wasn't when all the Reed supporters were out there in their pink shirts, and you know what I mean. I mean,
I haven't seen that. I haven't seen that in so long. That just made me so angry again. I mean,
you've said it before too. Like they're all so excited about him and pushing so hard. I mean, we know the Reeds, Alan Jackson, Elizabeth Little.
Yes.
Is Yannetti on the list too? I can't remember.
Yes.
Yeah.
All of them. And there's other people from Worksman or from Alan
Worksman Jackson. Yes.
There's other people from that that law firm that have contributed as well to him, right? It's insane though if you think about it. This is the man that supposedly had all the evidence to free Karen Reed, to stop the trial, to show that somebody else did this, and he never did it. So why are they, if that's what they truly believe,
right?
Why are they supporting this man?
Right.
Right.
He let her go on trial for murder twice and faced 30 years both times.
Right.
Yeah.
And you know, the one thing that I just want to ask, you know, if any Norfolk County residents are watching or listening, you really need to wonder. I mean, we all wonder, right? We talk about it all the time. Why the people Ginny just named, Karen Reed, Janet Reed, Bill Reed, Microdots, Alan Jackson, Turtle Boy, David Yannetti, Elizabeth Little, why do they want this man in that office so badly? I mean, we just showed you what went on. Why do they want him in there so badly? It's not to arrest the witnesses for John O'Keefe's death. He knows what happened. That's done. But what are they trying to protect that could come out eventually? I mean, I think we just showed you.
Yep. Yeah, I think so too. You know, this guy is running on, he's using Karen Reed, that case. He's saying he's using words that say there was a rush to judgment. I mean, sir, her taillight was found on the roadway covered in snow. It's pretty apparent what happened. Yeah. And then when we got more evidence, especially during the second trial, and we saw that text stream data, we saw that data from John's phone. There's no denying what happened that night. We know what happened that night.
And he knows. Adam Deitch knows. He knows.
And to put her face in the middle of it, what a slap in the face to the witnesses and to the O'Keefes.
Oh my God, the O'Keefes.
And if
who live in Norfolk County and have to see this.
If he really wants to run on a platform of, I'm sorry, Carrie, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you didn't. You didn't cut me off.
Transparency. Tell us what happened.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Tell us what happened. We
Right.
want the U.S. Attorney's Office to respond to these witnesses. Tell them why you got their data.
Right.
Respond to the O'Keefes. They're not even responding to the O'Keefes.
No.
There
The
needs to
victim's
be
family.
some transparency. You owe an answer to those people. You owe an answer. So,
Yeah.
And you know what we forgot, you
I think
guys?
that's it.
Oh,
I
sorry,
think we're.
go ahead.
You know what we forgot though? We did forget one thing. There was an ethics violation just filed against him and his campaign. Remember, by the other woman who's running for Norfolk County DA?
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So we
Yes.
did forget about that.
Yes.
So, you know,
Yeah.
that was amazing, Julie and
Yep.
Ginny.
Ginny,
You guys
do you
did
have
amazing.
Yeah,
And
Ginny
I
did
was
a
just-
great job.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna
do you have
say
any-
it's just like I think Julie's a little behind again. That's okay. No, I was just gonna say, you know, sunlight is the best disinfectant. That's what they always say. But they only mean it. They only mean that when it comes to trying to find any information on the witnesses or the O'Keefes or anybody, Morrissey, anybody they don't like. They do not want the sunlight when it comes to anything that may paint Karen Reed or any of these other people in the way that they actually really should be painted.
Right. Yeah. It's something else, you know. I mean, we've seen it. We see Richie, you know, microdots out there with, you know, he's bashing the other person running for DA. I don't know too much about him. I want to learn a lot about him because I need to see who I'm going to vote for. But all I've seen 2 cases that he's prosecuted. He's an excellent prosecutor. From all I've heard from people, he's a good man. And, you know, Microdots has got a picture of, you know, an AI picture of him with Michael Morrissey and Michael Proctor. You know, he keeps posting. It's egregious. It's really scary. You know, what these people have done to just, you know, people, just this guy trying to do his job. You know, he's been a civil servant for, I don't even know how many years, 30 years or something. And, you know, this, you know, jackass can just come along and just ruin everything for them. It's crazy.
The not guilty wasn't enough. Like,
Right.
They're not
Right. You should just, you know, that should be enough.
Yeah.
You guys, you want to just tell everyone quickly before we go what we do? We're going to do next weekend. We have a show with the Detectives podcast, right? On Saturday. And then on Sunday, we're going to do a show we're really looking forward to, all of us with Kate Peter. And we're going to go over, you know, the new phone extraction that has just been leaked of Turtle Boys. So
yeah,
that'll be fun.
I think as of right now, we
that'll be a lot
haven't
of fun.
finalized the title, but I think it's going to be The Turtle and the Tinfoil Townsies. But we'll see.
I wish you had the picture to show everyone.
I do. If you want to take a minute, I could show you.
Yeah. Show everybody. Everybody will like it.
Yes,
You guys
yes.
pause for a second. I'll find it. Yeah, I mean, this isn't set in stone, but we'll see. Hold on one second.
Yeah, some people are having a very bad weekend this weekend. Not Kate Peter, though.
She's having a great weekend.
She's yeah, I got it. Hold on a second. There you go.
Oh my God, I didn't notice the dog. Oh, in the basement.
Yeah, I don't know if that's going to be it for sure, but you know, that's the first stab at it.
Oh my God, Sarah with an H.
Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing.
That's great. I love it. I love it so much. Yeah.
Yeah, so that'll be next Sunday, right?
Yeah,
Next
and
Sunday.
Saturday is the Detectives podcast, which should be great.
Yeah, and that'll be Lydia and Tuesday.
Yeah, it's gonna be.
Yeah, I'm excited. I don't know who they are, so I'm really excited to watch.
Yeah, me too. So.
Yeah.
That picture.
Well, thank you so much for being with us, guys.
Yeah, thank you guys. I hope you learned something. I hope you liked it.
Yes. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Right.
And enjoy your Sunday evening.
Bye.
Guys.
Bye, guys.
One of the worst losses, other than the physical losses of this nightmare, has been the loss of my reputation.
Can I have normal shoes, please, so I'm not on TV looking like this? But I don't want to be on Channel 4 in my pajamas. This is.
I wouldn't worry about the news right now.
Did he come and hit the back of my car, and I hit him in the knee, and he's drunk and passed out and asphyxiated or something? And then when I hired David Yannetti, I asked him those questions the night of January 29th. Like, David, what if, I don't know, what if I ran his foot over? Or what if I clipped him in the knee and he passed out or went to care for himself and he threw up or passed out? And David said, yeah, then you have some element of culpability.
My paralegal told me that a guy named Mike had called the office and he has important information for me. I called him back, and I have a memory of sitting at my desk at home in my office. And, you know, he had a gravelly voice, and, you know, it was like a holy smokes moment, because he said that perhaps someone else caused the death of John O'Keefe. And he came and sat with my investigator and me, and, you know, it didn't really go anywhere with him beyond that. It's not like he was a witness or that we could use him, but that tip was invaluable.
When someone comes to our office with credible information that a police officer may have been involved in a murder and underlying legal violations as set forth in the indictment, we're going to investigate that case every time. I'm not going to comment on how we get information.
Built a cannon.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.